What up, JP2 crew? This is Father Adam, just with another quick message for this Sunday's gospel. In today's gospel, we hear about Jesus feeding the 5,000. And it says this in the Gospels that now when Jesus heard this, when he heard that John the Baptist had been murdered, his relative had been murdered, he withdrew from there in a boat to a lonely place apart. And so you got to imagine that, okay, he just heard like his relative died. And so he's probably thinking, I need a little bit of alone time to like spend time in the presence of the Father and to process all of this. So he goes to a lonely place apart from them. And the crowds, when they heard it, they followed him on foot from the towns. They followed him all the way around the Sea of Galilee. See, Jesus went across the sea on a boat, but they were hungry. They were hungry. They're like, I don't care what it takes. I'll walk all the way around the Sea of the Galilee. I just want to come in contact and see this Jesus. Are you hungry like the crowds? Get hungry like the crowds. So the crowd goes all the way around to meet them. And then when Jesus went ashore, he saw the great crowd and he said, oh crap, here they are, interrupting my prayer time. But that's not what he said, right? No, it's not what he said. No, it says this. He had compassion on them and healed their sick. You know, sometimes when we're going throughout our day, we're like on a roll, right? We're going somewhere and nothing's going to stop me from going to that place. Oftentimes God will bring in interruptions into our life, and they're not supposed to be burdens, but they're supposed to be blessings. Welcome interruptions in your life. Don't turn people away because your agenda says you have to do a certain thing today and that's it. Expect God to interrupt your day and believe that that interruption is going to be a mighty blessing if you receive it. If you receive it. So many people are like, I'm praying my holy hour. You need to leave me alone. Can't you see I'm doing something? When God's like, yeah, I see that, but let me do something for you. Let me be a blessing for you. And oftentimes our biggest blessings are in those interruptions. And so he had compassion on them and healed the sick. When it was evening, the disciples came to him and said, this is a lonely place. Yo, it's getting dark and there's not enough food. Send them away so that they can go find some food, Jesus, right? I don't blame the disciples. It's super logical, right? They look at the resources, they look at the circumstance, and they say, it's probably best if they go away, Jesus. Send them away. And Jesus says something so profound. It's like not expected by the disciples. Jesus turns to them and says, you feed them. I'm thinking, what? Jesus, how about you? You're God. You do it. You do it, God. How many times do we go to God and tell him to do something for us? All the time, right? But here's the thing, is that sometimes God would rather do something through you than for you. Let me repeat that. Sometimes God would rather do something through you than for you. God told them to feed them. All right? And so for them to go to Jesus and say, you feed them, think about this. How many of you would keep your job if you kept telling your boss to do what he has told you to do? Let me repeat that because I don't think you quite got that. How many of us would be able to keep our job if we told our boss to do what he has told us to do? Jesus said to them, you feed them. So guess what? The disciples need to feed them. Jesus said to the disciples, heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the leper. He make well the sick, make them whole. You do that. And so that would be kind of foolish of us to say, Jesus, will you do this? But he told you to do it. You do it. And I think he's teaching his disciples is that you have the Spirit within you. You have the ability, because I've called you to do something great, there's going to be the grace there for you to carry it out. We need to trust that God, in our call, will give us the grace to carry out what he has called us to do. He won't leave us empty-handed. And so the disciples, Jesus breaks the bread, gives it to the disciples, and from the disciples' hands, the food was multiplied. You can just see Jesus breaking the bread, giving it to the disciples. They got a basket of bread. They're handing out bread for you, bread for you, bread for you. They look in the basket. There's still more bread. Bread for you, bread for you, bread for you. Still more bread. Unbelievable. There was a multiplication and it came at the hands of the disciples. All right? And he can do the same thing through you. That while you're giving yourself, your time, your talent, your treasure to other people, and you're giving and you're giving and you're giving, and you look in your basket and sometimes you think, oh my gosh, I don't have enough bread. God will supply the bread. He'll supply you with the grace. Just continue to do what he has called you to do and watch how he works wonders through you. Amen.